Welcome to the Becoming Podcast, built from failure with your host, Rogelio Diaz. This is the first episode, and I am talking for entrepreneurs, for creators, for visionaries. I'm inviting you all, people that know they're capable of more, right? But feel like life hasn't reflected their potential yet. If you've ever felt stuck, behind, or like you're trying to build something, but it's just not working. Like you're really giving it your all, and you just seem to not be able to get ahead, and you feel like you're falling behind, right? You feel like you can't get it right, so to speak. You're in the right place. I'm Rogelio Diaz again, and on this podcast, we will talk about the real journey of becoming who you were meant to be, the ups, the downs, the struggles, the pains, the hard truth that you have to face, right? Because it ain't easy, bro. It ain't easy, and there's going to be a lot of pain, a lot of stuff to process while you're creating your dream reality, while you're creating your business, while you're becoming that person that you know you can be. There's going to be a lot that comes with it. But the failures, the identity shifts, the inner work, and everything that it actually takes to build a life and business that reflects your true potential, that's what we're going to be going into in these podcast episodes, and just deeper into why we self-sabotage, why we can't seem to get where we want to be in life. There's a lot of internal conflict that is going on. I'm going to share a few of my struggles and just what I've been through, and let you know you're not alone, bro. Like we all have stuff like that we've gone through that has traumatized us like crazy, that has kept us in these suffering loops, I like to call them, where we keep making sure that we're exactly where we're at and that we don't progress. And it's like this part of us that doesn't want us to grow, that is afraid, right? It's trying to protect us in many ways. But I'm very excited, man. I'm very excited. And you're going to learn that success isn't just about what you build, but again, it's about who you become. So without further ado, let's get started in this first podcast episode on why you can't seem to get ahead in life, right? You can't seem, you're trying, but you can't seem to get there. You can't seem to finally do the things that you know you need to do to get the results that you're looking for. Look, man, if anybody gets it, I get it, bro. Like we're gonna go into feeling like you're trying but nothing is working, feeling like behind compared to others, knowing you have potential but not seeing results, and the pressure of I should be further ahead by now. Maybe you catch yourself saying things like what you're doing, yeah, you're doing everything, but it's still not working. Like you catch yourself saying, your life, why isn't my life matching what I know I'm capable of? These are the kinds of things that go on every day in so many entrepreneurs and creators and visionaries, that in their mind, and they struggle with that by themselves. They struggle with that internally. But what changes everything is actually addressing the core root of it, right? You see, it's not. Well, there's a couple questions. Why do you feel like a failure? And who made you feel like a failure? Those are the kind of questions that you want to ask and go deeper into. Share a little personal experience. There was a point in time where I got really bad grades in school. And I remember I was trying, and I couldn't seem to grasp these concepts like math and science. I freaking hated both. I hated, but I liked what they call social studies. But it while I was, your brain is still developing when you're young, as we know. But during those times in school, when I was in grammar school, and particularly, I remember coming home on report card day, so afraid to show my parents my report card because I knew what I had, and I would hide it, and I did not want to show them my report card. Every time it was a disappointment, you know. My mom would break down because they sent me to a Catholic school, and they were paying X amount of money, and they just felt like they were wasting their money. I mean, imagine what that does to a kid, right? Like there's people getting A's and B's, and for some reason, I couldn't get to that standard. I couldn't get those kind of grades, and I developed a belief that I was a failure, that I was dumb, that I wasn't capable, and that, oh my gosh, you don't even know how deep that goes. I've had to do so much inner work around that. Especially when you're building a business and you're trying to progress and you're trying to build momentum and move forward, and you have all these things coming in subconsciously, and until you're actually aware of what's going on, you're just going to keep believing that and creating situations that make it true, and it's not true. That's the thing, guys. Like, I wasn't any of that. You're not any of that. But until you challenge those beliefs, until you sit with yourself and do the inner work that's necessary, like so many of I'm a coach, I'm a self empowerment coach, so many of my clients have done, you're going to just keep repeating the same cycles. And it's sad because people die. People die with these beliefs, thinking they're a loser, thinking they could never achieve anything in life, and they bring it into fruition because they never took the time to address it, and it doesn't go away. And it's a process. There really is layers to it, and something else it's like imagine a ball of energy, and you do some inner work, and you take a little bit of that energy out, and that ball of energy shrinks, and then it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and then one time or one day it dissipates, and it's no longer in your consciousness. I recommend reading Letting Go by David R. Hawkins. What a magnificent book. It teaches you a lot about healing trauma. And that's the thing, until you get to that point, it's going to be there. That belief, that negative energy, so to speak, it's going to be there, and it's going to make sure that you stay where you're at, right? And that's the thing. Like, it's not that you are all these negative things. You're the exact opposite, bro. But when you keep doing those habits, right, that are keeping you in that mind frame, that are keeping you where you're at, that's all you're going to believe you are. And because that's the evidence that you're producing, right? But when you start getting new information coming in, learning from new people, right, getting higher knowledge, if you want to call it, your identity is going to start to change, and you're going to start to see that you are so much more. But you need something new environment, a new mentor, a new coach, something just new that gives you a freaking upgrade, that makes you believe that you are more than what you currently are. When I was 22, I was an alcoholic. I was drinking half a bottle of Bombay every other day. I I didn't know where I was going, man. I got cheated on. I got a DUI. I was living with my parents, and I felt broken. I felt lost. I lost all my friends. I got an injury at work that left me with two slip discs. Damn, did life hit? And I remember going to sleep one night, and I asked myself if this was going to be the rest of my. After partying, I was tipsy, if not drunk, and I asked myself, while I'm laying in bed, is this going to be the rest of my life? And for some reason, I said no. There was a part of me that said no. And I know there's a part of you that's saying no too. I don't know where you're at in your life, but if you're watching this, you're probably fed up. You're probably tired, exhausted, fighting yourself, losing against yourself, going through all the same struggles again and again and again. Maybe you're looking for real change, bro. I'm telling you it's possible. When you make a real decision, you follow through, you're going to change. And you're going to change everything around you, man. For 2 years, I did nothing but work on myself. I went deep into personal development, and I showed myself that I was everything but a failure. All these beliefs that came from conditioning, that came from my parents, that came from authority figures, cousins, all these beliefs that were just given to me unconsciously. I had to challenge them. I was able to see that I was more. And sometimes I'm a big believer that sometimes it takes other people believing in you so you can start believing in yourself. that's what happened to me. But after those 2 years of working on myself, investing in myself, that's man, that's when I saw my true. I started to see my true potential. Right? I started to see that you know what, I can be an entrepreneur. I can build something. I don't just have to settle for a mediocre life. I don't just have to let life do whatever it wants with me. Right? And I started going into what I'm doing now, personal development, right? Self empowerment coach, helping people, helping them see that everything they think that they cannot do and that they're not ready for, they actually are. But there's something that's getting in the way. And if they're willing to look at what the truth is, right, confront themselves, they'll be able to get to the next level. And it's hard, man. It's hard to face yourself. It's hard to call yourself out and hear the hard truth, right? I don't know. I'm a big believer in drastic change and full immersion, as Tony Robbins calls it, because when I was 27, after so I was working on myself for 2 years, and then I became a personal trainer, and I found a business partner, and I went through. We had a studio together for a year and a half, and then that fell apart, and then I came back to this. I came back because I was dabbling with this being a coach and going into really helping people. Um, but after the studio came crashing down, and I really went into this, man. I was 27, and I realized I had to leave. Like I had to leave my parents' house because I was going back to my old ways with drinking, and I felt caged. I felt limited. I felt like I couldn't grow anymore being there. And it's naturally, right? You want more freedom. You want more space. In Mexican culture, you stay a little longer than you should, right? If you're Hispanic, you know. But I made a decision, another life changing decision, to move to Sedona, Arizona, after a 4 day retreat. And also before that, that's where I met my. Well, before I went to that retreat, I invested in myself in coaching, and I met my second mentor or third mentor, and learned so much from him. And yeah, because I went to his retreat, and I couldn't go back. I couldn't go back to Chicago. I drove there. It was a 24-hour drive. I drove like, man, I forgot how many hours straight, but it was intense. I was popping caffeine tablets, this other supplement for your adrenal glands. So the caffeine can hit harder, and it would reset your adrenal glands, and it was bad, man. I'm not ever recommend that to anybody. But point is, I grew so much through that new experience. I grew so much from going through that 4 day retreat and then deciding afterwards to stay there. And I see, and that's the thing, bro. Like, what are you willing to pay for what you want? And that goes in regards to anything. I was willing to sleep in my car, right? 'Cause I had my car, I had my luggage, my laptop, my dream. I was willing to sleep in my car. I was willing to fast. I was willing to do whatever the hell it took to make sure that I stayed there. And I did. I figured it out. I ended up getting a hotel for 3 days to plan and see where I wanted to stay at. Thank God my parents supported me while I was making this transition. And here we are, dude. 5 plus years later, now I'm in Georgetown, Texas. I don't even know how I got here. But the original plan was to stay in Sedona, Arizona. But it was expensive to live there. It was just too much, man. I met my now girlfriend, future wife, Serena. I met her at that retreat. You know, the rest is history. The rest is history. But I took that leap, and I knew I had to. Is there a had to or a have to in your life? that you know you have to do, but it's going to cost you a bit. One of the prices I paid was saying goodbye to my family for some time. I so used to seeing them every day. Now it goes and then and now it's like once, twice, maybe three times a year if I'm lucky. That hurt. That stings, man. 'But if you want to build a new life, there's always going to be good and bad that comes with it. But guys, there there are things that are going to happen as you're walking this entrepreneur journey, and you're going to try and you're going to fail. You're going to try, you're going to fail, and it's all perspective, bro. It really is. Like that voice in your head that's judging you, that's telling you you're not enough, that you suck, that you're a loser, you're a failure, this and that, the overthinking, the inconsistency, the lack of trust in yourself, fear of failure. Maybe I'm not built for this. Those kind of thoughts. I can't tell you how many times I've had those thoughts, but all those things that come with it. And if you can still walk, if you can still go after all of that, after hearing and challenging and facing those parts of you that don't think you can do it, that's really the voice of your parents running in the background. If you can show yourself, man, on a practical level that you can do it and prove yourself prove that old part of you wrong and the true part of you right. If you can show yourself, hey, I can do this, man. I remember I used to tell myself, watch me. I would get angry because that part of me that was limiting, that was constricting, that was self-destructive, it would tell me, right? It would tell me, you can't do that, man. Come on. Who are you, right? And at that time, the level of awareness that I had, I would get angry and I would say, watch me. And I would do it. But now, knowing what I know, that part's just trying to protect you. And it really needs kindness and compassion. And it's easy to get frustrated with it, right? But it's trying to protect you. What was it trying to protect me from? The fear of failure. Um, this future anticipated pain of why even try? It's not going to work out, right? It all comes back to failure either way. And as I faced that, as I showed myself that I could, that voice got quieter and quieter. And another part started getting louder and louder. The part of me that knows I can do anything. There's a part in you too, right? It's a part in you too that believes the same thing for you. And that's the part that you want guiding your life. Because if you have this lower part guiding your life, you're going to stay stuck. You're going to stay with those bad habits. You're going to stay living with guilt and shame because you can't have what you want in life, right? You're going to stay where you're at. You're going to continue the suffering. You're going to play victim. You're not going to grow. All the stuff that you hate about your life, you're basically welcoming it by letting this lower part lead you. You got to let the greater part lead you, man. I'm telling you, bro. The hardest part isn't the work. It's the story you're telling yourself while you're doing it, right? It really is. What are you telling yourself? You're going to fail? Everybody can do it but you? Only you know. And that's why you're winning or that's why you're losing. But it takes inner work. Some people call it shadow work. It takes facing yourself. It takes being honest with yourself about where you're at, your habits that are keeping you where you're at. It takes everything that you're avoiding, man. Because if you don't address those issues, those problems, you might die with them, or you might look back 30 years from now, still believing you're a failure, still believing you're not enough, still blaming the world why you didn't get what you want out of life. That's a real potential reality. But if you're listening to this, bro, maybe this can snap you back into who you truly are. Because there's a part of you that's being developed right now that is trying to show you and it's trying to help you create your true potential. It's trying to help you become who you were meant to be. It's trying to help you heal so you can finally get out of your own way, right? Like something I would recommend, write, like, excuse me, write what your lower part does and feels. So you know when it's activating, right? Excuse me. And that way you know, oh, okay, this action, this feeling is coming from this lower part. And then you do the opposite, man. And it's easier said than done, but you're challenging, you're changing, you're challenging the pattern at this point, right? You're starting to break the pattern just by doing that. I I've literally sat down, right? The self-destructive, limiting, constricting part of me does X, Y, and Z, and then I know what's going on. Right? You start to like, okay, oh, okay, I know where this is coming from, right? And it's very helpful, man. It's very helpful. But if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, I just want to say thank you. I hope you this has helped you in some way, and just reminds you, man. This reminds you that you're not failing. You're never failing. Even that, I use that word throughout this episode today a lot, but you're always in the process of becoming. And every meaning that you create out of every situation is going to be what you believe. If you want new results, you need new meanings, you need new information, you need new knowledge, you need new beliefs, new experiences, things that are going to show you so you can start believing. If you can't get the faith without the practicality and again seeing the results, you're going to have to show this, bro. You're going to have to show yourself first. But thank you for joining me again. It's Rogelio Diaz. This is the Becoming Podcast, built from failure, and what's coming, man. You know, I I'm gonna be going deeper into these kinds of topics. If you haven't joined my free community, the Becoming Movement, go ahead and check out the description, the link in the description. The free community for entrepreneurs, creators, again, visionaries, coaches, people that are ready to become who they were meant to be and are ready to create a life that reflects their true potential, not what they've been conditioned to be. If you want to learn more about what my one-on-one coaching looks like, go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram. You'll find the link down below as well. It's Rogelio Diaz Official. But I've been doing this work, guys, for 6+ years. If you don't know who I am, again, self-empowerment coach, and I want to give people a chance through this work, through this content, for them to find out what they can really do and see how far they can really take it while they're here with whatever they're trying to do, their business, their dream. Just be better, bro. If an ex-alcoholic like me, someone who believed they were worth nothing, could be here talking to you on this mic, there ain't nothing you can't do, bro. All right, till next time.